Heirloom Afternoon. We are having all kinds of technical difficulties today. I am trying to absolutely get this working and not miss a beat. I hope you are doing wonderfully well. It's February 8th. Welcome to Heirloom Afternoon. We have, I'm about to sneeze. You know that's always a good sign. That's the sign that it's going to be a good broadcast today. Usually when you get all sniffly and all kinds of weird stuff happens, that's usually when you have the best kind of stream. Today, my friends, if you are watching us through Facebook, I might not be able to see your comments, and I am so sorry about that. I absolutely want to see your comments, so I will try and check often to see what kinds of comments come in, but I am so sorry because there's been so many problems here doing the Facebook Live. It has been very persnickety today. Those of you over on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in once again. My friends, today we have more, we have a lot of things to cover. And I first want to say, first of all, hello and welcome to February 8th. That is the Festival of the Broken Needle called Harikuyo. And for those of you that don't know, I am a huge student of everything Japanese, and I have been very deeply interested in the Japanese culture since I was a small kid. I've watched I've watched a lot of anime and just been in love with the Japanese culture since I was very young. And so there's like terms that that Japanese friends of mine use for fans of Japanese culture. And so I, being that person, found this amazing festival, and it is called Harikuyo. And this festival, which I'm going to pull up here, is part of Japanese culture. And it's a festival where on February 8th, which is the day that I, do this particular ceremony. And it's basically a day for you to thank your tools for their service to you, and to put them quote unquote to rest. And so every year I do this with all of my pins and all of my needles, and I collect all the ones that are broken or not usable anymore. And this is the day when I actually get them into the recycle bin. There is a lot about this awesome practice, and here is a bit about how it is performed. But basically, your pins and needles that are no longer useful, that are dull, bent, or broken, you give them one final resting place, and then they are taken away and they are burned in a fire and melted down and turned into new stuff. And so as you can see here, I have quite the giant collection of pins that I have been sticking into this one of my own pin cushions that I made. And all of the needles that I've used, the sewing machine needles, the other things. And this is the day in which I go and purchase new pins. And it is also a time for you to, I guess, take a look at the pins that you no longer love, that you no longer, can use, and perhaps give them to someone who can use them. And for me, in this particular case, my pins are very, there's a very just cathartic thing about taking your pins and putting them into this piece of, and I just made this pin cushion for this purpose, but it feels very cathartic to take these things that have served you quite well, but you can see this one is very bent, and put them, thank them for their service. If you watch a lot of Marie Kondo, who is the lady who does the art of cleaning and decluttering, and she has a great Netflix series. But what she often reminds you is to thank the thing for its service, and then give it or take it away or do whatever. And so what you're doing is you're trying to say, look, like, these things served me, and I cannot use them anymore. And so thank you for being there for me when I needed you, and then off they go. So this to me is a very cool process. It's very, again, I did not realize I had this many bent and broken pins, and so these are all going to be removed from the pin cushion, and then put in my recycle bin in a container, so that they can go and become something else. And I can purchase new pins, and I do purchase new pins today on this day every year. So that allows me to get these pins and new pins. And as they are dull, and they do dull, and as you use hand sewing needles, people like me would love it if you would purchase new needles today. And that is Harikuyo. Now, again, I've been practicing this for at least 5 years. I think I found out about this ceremony about 5 years ago. So every February 8th, I do take all of my pins. And I mean, we have a lot of them. There's a lot in this little pin cushion. And I mean, some of these are not very bent, and I understand that, right? Like, we are the kind of people that feel extremely thrifty. And I don't know where some of that thriftiness comes from, from you and me. I feel like we, whether that's an implied thriftiness, like we retained that from people before us that, said, oh, well, that's still a decent enough pin, I can still use that. No. On top of that, and just piercing this fabric, you can feel and hear that these pins are just so incredibly dull. So if they're not terribly bent, they may have also not may not be useful to you anymore, in the fact that they are very dull, very unusable in that form. So I went through all of my pins. This is the result, and these are now going to go away. I do love the idea of thanking our tools for their service to us, and that just says to me that we're incredibly lucky to live in this time when we have all of these amazing pins. Now, I will also say that some of these pins were more my favorite than others, like these little tiny glass-headed pins. I love those the best. And it pained me to put each one of those in here. I'm like, oh, I could still use that one. No. I can go and buy more. Some of these were not terribly bent, but you know what? It's worth it to me to have brand new tools that will do the job, and that's the most important thing. So that's what we have to pay attention to here. So my friends, what is going on with you today? Hopefully you are off to go ahead and thank all of your pins and needles for its service to you. And I'm going to put this aside now because and I do have, like, I keep going through like all my other pin cushions. Like, I have so many pin cushions and I pull them out and I'm like, is that one bent? Is that one bent? So I try, oh, there's a bent one. So that one's got to go in the, into the big pin cushion there. So yeah. Today, my friends, I have the coolest thing to show you, and I started doing some Googling, some research, and I looked into and found a very cool type of, I guess you could call it embroidery that I had not heard of before. Now, it's called tufting or stump work. And as I was doing the online research for this this type of material or tools, I came across this is one of the books that I had mentioned to you in the very beginning that is one of my reference tools when it comes to looking up unusual sewing materials. And this is Antique American Needlework Tools. This book and this technique is not described on, it's on the very last page. The very last page of the book. And it right after this, it goes right into the notes. So you know, when I say it's on the last page, it is on the last page. And this is it right here. And I'll bring over my camera so that we can see this. And this was very interesting to me. So it was called plush work or tufted work. And you can see here, it apparently started in France and Holland, but really where it got a lot of its, who took it further were the Germans and the Amish who came over and started their Amish German communities here in the United States. Now, it was very popular in the 1800s, but it's kind of waned and went away here in America. So we don't really practice this anymore. And I thought this was a really, really cool looking technique. Now, they would make blankets out of these designs. Now, what does that look like, right? So, of course, I had to go and get my hands on some. And that is when I got this little guy. And it's little, as you can see here. It's about I want to say it's about 7 inches long, and the motif itself is probably only about 3 inches. And this is filthy. Okay, so it just came to me this way. It's very dirty, and I would like to see if I could put this in some kind of soak wash or something that would help clean this up a bit. But to give you a sense of what this looks like, it is bits of yarn that have been sewn in a very particular direction and method, and then they've been clipped inside of these areas. And that is what causes all this volume. And so I was intrigued by the idea that the Amish were still making this particular kind of plush work, stump work, or tufting. Now, if you look at the back, you can see how it is made, and you have the individual stitches, and it's clear that they are over some kind of shape or design. So that is where the book comes in, and the book tells us that there were these tools that looked like this, and they are not quilting tools. These are not quilting designs. These are actual plushwork designs. And if you look at our shape, you can see that these are the exact type of shape that we're looking for. So I went out and looked for where some of these tools could be found, and I was able to locate, and I'm pulling it out of my giant bag of tricks here. I was able to locate that there were tools made available, and mostly in Europe, and they were called embroiderer tools. Okay, so these were called embroiderers. And as you can see, if you lay this design in here, you can see that this is the exact shape that we are looking for. And so these tools I had to get from the UK. They were sent to me, and they were quite expensive. So I'm not gonna lie, I spent quite a bit of money on these tools. And you can see also that they fold up into just smaller space so that they could fit either in your workbox or what have you. So here you can see that this shape is exactly the same shape as our little plushwork tool. So this gives me a lot of information about how this could have been made. And also, if you were to look and peel apart the thickness here, you can also see that's where there's enough room for this tool to have fit in here. And all of this volume then comes from the tool, or the thread being expanded out. So I wanted to also show you that the tools that came to me, some of them were homemade. This one is not as highly manufactured as this one, which means to me this one is much older and could even be from the 1800s, the late 1800s. You can see the tin is raised along the edges here, and that would indicate to me that they've been snipped or cut with some sort of tin snip. They're raised up and they're quite sharp. And this one appears to be very homemade, as well as this one. Now, they had individual petals that they would also use. So they would have maybe put a petal out in the outer area that would help give it more of a flower look. They could also individually use these in a trio, and that would be more of like a tulip shape. So there were a lot of different shapes that they used. They also used just regular washer types, washer circles that would also be embroidered over, and these would make like a pom-pom shape. So I also thought to myself, this feels and looks very familiar to me, but not necessarily in these flower shapes. And I thought, I think I have something in my own collection that is very, very similar. And it turns out that I did have something in my collection, and I'm just going to raise this up a bit. And that is this pillow, which is huge, by the way. It's like easily 18 inches or bigger. Okay. And so we've got this like pillow right here. And it is on a needlework canvas, and you can see the needlework in there. But my friends, this is done the exact same way. So what would have happened here with this pillow is the places in where they wanted the plush work to happen would have been embroidered over either a stick or even a knitting needle, and it would have been placed inside into this channel, and these sections would have been embroidered back and forth, and then when this was cut open, all of that layering, it would lay flat or be pushed flat into these designs. And so this is another thing that could be done. Now, the evenness, of course, comes from the fact that this was done on a needlepoint canvas, and so the needlepoint allowed it to have the big structure here. And I just have to point out the most interesting and crazy looking tassels on this thing because they're quite insane. And take a look at how wild these pom-poms are that are on every single corner, and they're just so crazy. Now, this pillow is also quite dirty, and I am afraid to launder it or wash it in any way. I would believe that this is from the late 1800s, and so these have seen the long test of time. And actually, if I spread that out a little bit, you can see the original yellowish color that this yarn did have at one point, and of course this beautiful teal color as well. But that this is quite old, and again, I am not in a position to want to launder it or anything like that. The other small piece that I just got, the Amish star, I probably will try to launder that sometime in the next week or so. But I am very excited about finding this very unique, very strange type of embroidery, tufting, stump work, whatever you want to call this, because it's just so cool. So we have this this example, and again, you can see the colors that they used to be, teal, yellow, and purple. What a combo. But this pillow was in my collection, and as soon as I started to see the example in the book and other examples online, I realized I knew I had something in my collection. So I do want to thank my former in-laws. This was one of the things that they gifted to me, and so still remains in my collection. So very cool, very interesting needlepoint pillow, but and it's quite large, and it does have a black velvet back, and so it's quite interesting. These with these crazy ridiculous pom-poms on them, they're just so interesting. So that is one of the things that I discovered in my collection that I thought, well, I have to check this out. Now, of course, the little Amish one is on the floor, so I've got to pick that up. And so what I thought I was going to take a look into was how reproducible this could be. And I thought, well, if we can, I would like to take a look at how we can reproduce this. So again, that's where these tools came in. There's large ones like this one, which also has holes in it. This would have probably been used as, this side would have been used in those tulip shapes. And otherwise, the entire star would have been used to make the other types of embroidery. It does have a patent number on it, and I don't know yet if that is a British or an American patent number. And so I'm still researching that, and I should have some more info for you by next week. But you know, to see how far they have come from the types that were just nailed together to these more manufactured types, where they have more and I mean, they're quite crude in some places, you know, but these are just so interesting to me, these tools. Now, if you were to go look for these and look for them on eBay, like I did, you're going to find it's called Kay's Embroiderer, Kay, Kay's Embroiderer, and there were 2 sets that they made, and there's set number 1 and set number 2, and I do not know which set I have. And when I ordered it, it did not come with the instruction sheet. There are instruction sheets, and I don't really, I mean, it's pretty straightforward process. I don't think I need the instruction sheet, but they did come with these smaller petal shapes, and they also came with the washers. And so this whole thing here, there's also included was this, and I believe that this is a homemade thing. This is not part of it, and I believe that this was a completely homemade tool, probably for making those pom-poms. So I would say that this is not part of that. This would be part of something else altogether. So I got all of this, and it came from the UK, so it finally arrived. So this is fairly new to me, and I just couldn't wait. And part of this show is the experimentation of it, and that's you know, again, we're talking about a technique that, you know, thrived at the end of the 18th and 19th century. Now, why would something like this be a very important or have even a you know, why would it even be a craze? And part of that is it does not take a lot of yarn, and this is clearly some kind of wool yarn. Does not take a lot of yarn to make one of these. So my assumption is, and it is just an assumption, but it is the idea that you would not need a lot of yarn. So this would be great for smaller bits of leftover yarn that are not enough for you to make anything else. So if you were not able to, you have a short amount of yarn left after you've made your knitting or your crochet, this would be a great use for additional yarn that you did not, that you could just use up. Now, I am going to use tapestry wool, and I'm very lucky in that I am very close to a wool felt shop called Benzies, Benzies. Let's throw that up onto the screen. And they are very Benzies.com. Let's put that up there. So Benzies is a local wool shop to me. Now, they are online and they are well and known and established in the wool felt and other kinds of felt communities, right? So if you are into getting any kind of felt, they're going to be your go-to person. I live in the same town as Benzies, and I think that's amazing. And so I went to the shop yesterday, and I was like, I need tapestry wool. And so we had a great time picking out all the colors. And trust me, they make wool in some amazing, cute colors. Lots of pinks and reds and purples and all sorts of stuff. So you can see that tapestry wool is still around. And of course, it is made by DMC, which is the embroidery thread company. So I went and got myself some tapestry wool, and I could use of the spun pieces, I could just use one thread of it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use all of it because I do want that extra fluff, that extra tufting. So these are the colors that I picked. Actually, there's quite a bit more in the bag. I should have just bought one of every color, but so this is what I got, and I got a couple pieces of felt as well, because typically this was worked on a wool background, and that would be a wool woven background. You can see here, this looks like it's a piece of suiting or something that would have been made in a more commercial way. And so this was a great way to use up little scraps of things. Me personally, I am going to just use a piece of regular wool, and this is wool felt, or this is not wool felt. This is poly felt, and it will be just fine for what I need it to do. Oh, I've got their little baker's twine on here, which I absolutely adore. And in order for me to do this process, I did get out an embroidery hoop for myself. Now, I don't know that these were done on an embroidery hoop. I'm assuming that they were. Just for me and my purposes, I'm going to pop this into an embroidery hoop, just so that I can keep the fabric taut. But that's just me, and your mileage, as I often say, your mileage may vary. Now I'm going to throw this piece of wool into this embroidery hoop, or this piece of felt, I should say, and just get this squared up so that I can go ahead and start my my embroidery process. And that's what this is the kind of thing that I was most excited about when I was starting to do the research for the show, was to find techniques like this that haven't been around in years, or that you may not have heard of. And even I hadn't heard of this one until now. And I am that person, just like many others of you. I find something and I have got to go down the rabbit hole. That is what I wanted to do. Okay, so I've got my piece here, and I'm going to move all this wool out of the way. And in the research that I have done, I have discovered that there is a process, that there is a method to this, in how it is attached to your background, and also how how this is all started. Now, I do need a rather large sort of tapestry needle, because we need something that this wool can go through. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of colors that I think will be very sweet together. So let's try these three. And I think that in what I've been reading from others who have tried this method, that three is about what you would want, and three colors is what you want. Now, let's see, we've got scissors here. Of course, we're using the the skull scissors from my collection. So if you want a pair of these, don't worry, you can grab them. And we can, let's see here, let's put up, there we go. So yeah, so you can always find stuff like this on like these on our website. So, and here is, I love that this needle is huge. This is a tapestry needle. And on our, I have only about 20 inches of thread here. I don't want a whole lot because I don't know how many passes this is going to take. So we need to start this, you need to secure your piece to your background. And to do that, we're going underneath, and we're coming up through the center, and we're going to go over the edge of the center. And we want to make sure our knot is not going to pop out. And so this is the process to start, is to secure your template to the background by coming up through the center and over the edge of this template. And we joked in the store that it looks like a ninja star. It totally does look like a ninja star. It's very 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 weapon-like. It's very pointy. And even the other ones, the Amish ones, they appear quite dangerous, very pointy. All right, and so we're just trying to make sure that we come up through the center, which I keep hitting the template back there. So we just want to make sure that so you just want to, like, keep adjusting your needle position until you get right where you want it to be. Now this will create the center tuft, this section here. Ooh, see, I keep hitting the template, so I don't really know where I'm coming up at. And this will create like a center tuft, and we just keep we could add another stitch all the way around the center. Now this pink, this hot pink, will be the one in the very middle of our project. And so we will have that just popping out through this will be in the very, very, very center. And I'm just going to put 2 layers in each of these. I think that will be plenty. And Now I think I've got the hang of it. I am learning this at the exact same time you are. So this is not a process that I am going to, that I'm learning this right at this second. I have not tried this before. So very very cool though, and I'm really already very excited about how this looks. And how this will come out. They do say that you want to keep going through this center, the centerpiece, until your needle and your thread can no longer fit through there. And so this small hole in the center of this template is going to, I can tell it's going to fill up rather quickly. So we've got that as our beginning, and we're just gonna assume that the back of my work is always pretty terrible, but here we are, and that is going to hold on this level. So that is the very first level. So now the template is attached, and I no longer have to sit here with my thumb and hold it on. And if we look at the, so I clearly, they did more up and down through the hole versus what I did. And so that would be something for me to practice, is to just not go over the edge, to do more up and down between the back and the forth. So that's something I will be able to practice here on the back, because otherwise you are using more thread, more of this than you should, because this was to use up thread but not waste it. Okay, so let's hide that there. There we go. So now I'm going to put the first layer here on the petal, and we're going to come up through this side, and I'm going to go down over the edge of the template and down as close to the template as I can. And then as instead of me going completely under and coming up back on the other side, right? Like I don't want to come up here. I want to come up right next to my stitch right there. And so that's what I'm going to do. Very similar to how they did it. And I want to make sure that all my petals are evenly spaced. And so you're going to always come up on the same side that you just went down into the fabric on. And I'm going to come up here, down there. And we're going to try to make these as even as possible, because we don't want our threads to go on an angle. We want them to be straight through, straight across the template here. And in order, and I, as you can see, like my little needle just keeps popping up, boop, boop. That's because I'm trying to like find the exact right point that I want. There we go. There we are. And down. And let's take a look at what this looks like on the back now. Okay, so now we're starting to look more like the stitches that were here on the sample. You can see the tiny, tiny little stitches. That is more useful to the work, and it's not wasting nearly as much thread. So here we are. I I think this is a lot of fun. Which way did I go? Oh, there we go. Okay. I had to remember which side I was on. Okay. So, yeah, this is a pretty neat process. And again, you just want to, as we go over each of these, they will get firmly tucked into place. And some people are probably like, well, Cheryl, like, you shouldn't be using these tools. They should be in like your collection. And aren't you worried you're going to scratch them up? I mean, these are tools that I, bought to use. And I plan to use them. I'm sure that if I wanted to, I could find a collection somewhere and put it away for all posterity or what have you, but not today. Today, I want to try this technique, use this technique. I think it would be very great as a small Christmas ornament. I can see quilting coming back with these designs. A lot of the Amish did use these as pillows and blankets and lots of other, techniques that decorated their homes. And so I think I can get behind that. This is again plush work because of just the amount of volume that comes out of this. I mean, like, look at how high this is, and it's kind of fun to feel it because it's really neat. So yeah, I went over the edge on the backside. I can already feel it, but we're learning. we're still learning, so that is bound to happen. I'm a beginner at this, so I'm not going to be too upset. Again, this is just trying this technique out, and we all have to start somewhere. And I think that this would be something that other people would have to be patient on as well. So this is really neat. It's very soothing because it is easy to follow the little template. I don't really have to do a whole lot. It's pretty straightforward. So I'm almost here at the end, which means I'm getting ready to tie a knot. And that should have covered the last of that tool. Now, don't forget, we're coming back in with other colors. So we don't have to worry about, are we perfectly covering this? We can make sure. And so there's that one piece that I didn't quite do it correctly, but that's okay. We're learning. Now, I do still have enough on here to at least start the next one. And, you have to remember that our people who came before us, they were very thrifty. And, I have often said myself, when I teach, I tell my students, do not try to sew with that one little tiny scrap of thread. This still has a little bit of length on it. But once we get down to a place where I'm struggling with it and the needle, I'm not going to continue sewing with this. This is the modern times. We have more thread. DMC is still making tapestry wool. You can still buy it. Benzies will happily sell it to you. And so we don't need to go and sew with those tiny, tiny, tiny little scraps anymore. If you want, you can keep them. You can put them in your garden. Your little birds and stuff will take the natural fibers away and build their nests and stuff with them. But this is, we do not need to struggle with needle and thread anymore. We do have enough on this still to keep going, so that's what I'm going to do. And I can tell that, this is a project that is, you're going to want to make sure that you have a very sharp tapestry needle. This one just happens to have been in my giant toolbox yarn or tapestry needle. Ooh, I dropped it. It's on the back there. And I probably will have to look to see if I can get some more if I wanted to do more of this technique. I just think that this is a lot of fun. Now, I am starting to get to that point where there's just not enough thread on this needle because we're getting to the wider part of the template, and it is going to use up more thread as we sew. So we are going to get to a point where we aren't being as successful than we were in the past. So I probably will get one more stitch out of this. And that, I think, is going to be enough because we still want enough room on the back to knot. Okay, so much better with this one. And we're just going to tie that knot really tightly because we don't want any of these threads to come out. And trim that nice and short. Now I will show you on the back of the work here, you can see there are knots throughout. So it's not not it is not just that I am using the knots wherever they just at the beginning and the ends. They had knots appear throughout the back stitching of their work. And so we just need another piece. And like I said, I'm doing about 16 to 20 inches of thread, to much more than that. And you're one of those stitchers that stitches way out like this. You're going to poke all your neighbors in the eye. I prefer to not do that. And I'm also using my threading technique. I do have a video here on YouTube for threading needles. So if you're like, how does she thread that needle? How does she tie that knot? They are both videos you can watch here on YouTube on how to thread your needle and also how to do this stuff. So, okay. So now I just want to come back up where we left off and pull that through. Is that all the thread? Yes, it is. And again, we're trying to make these very even across the work of the thread, across the template. We don't want to go at an angle. We don't want to, go off to the side, because I don't know that that would make a very pretty tufting. And so, again, this stump work, tufting work, I am very excited about how this is going to come out. Also, you can see that the more we have pulled on the thread, the tinier the thread has actually gotten. And so you can see there that the thread, as we have pulled it a lot, it's lost some of its volume. Its loft, I should say. So that's an interesting byproduct here. So we're almost at the end of this one, and that means we will be able to tie this knot. And be able to move on to the third petal. So I think, as we continue here, and I'm just going to see if this will be our last one or if we still have any more of the template sticking out on the very end. Because what we do still need to make sure we can do is get our scissors through that spot there, okay? Because that's how we're going to get the template out. The template does not stay in the work. And so here is the last knot, and we're going to go ahead and snip that nice and short. And that's where we're at. So I like that this is going to be captured inside here. I will continue to work on this and get this first layer down. Now that you know how I've done these two petals, I will just continue to do that and work on that in the same vein. Next week, when we come back, I will start the second layer, and you'll see how I'm able to do that second layer. And hopefully by the end of the next episode, we'll be able to go in and cut this. So I'm going to keep going and finish all of these petals in this exact same way. And then next week when we get together, we will have the first layer done, and we'll start working on that second layer. I do see in our vintage sample here exactly how that should look, and we definitely can see that there's it looks like the stitches are quite literally taken in as much of the same place as possible. So I like that, and I like to see how this was made. This is a really neat little sample, and I am going to try to wash this using some soak product, and I don't want to agitate this too much because I don't want it to felt any more than it has. But again, you can dig in here and see just how clean it used to look, how much nicer the colors used to be. So we're going to try to get that. These were used as pillows, as pin cushions, as all kinds of things in German and Amish households. This was, of course, a well-loved pastime. They would be done on squares like this and then joined together in big, large quilt-like blankets. You can see lots of examples of that in Pinterest. So if you're at all interested in looking up more about this technique, definitely hit Pinterest and look up Amish stump work or German tuft work. You're going to find that in there. But my friends, I am so excited to actually be trying something brand new to me and hopefully brand new to you with this new technique. So I am going to continue my little project here and get that first layer finished. Hopefully next week our tech issues will be solved. At least I hope they are. And that means we can come back next week and see the progress and be able to see your comments and so forth, because I miss having your comments during the show. So thank you once again. Don't forget that we are live every Tuesday at 12 noon Central Time. And I hope you bookmark us. I hope you follow us again. Be sure to tell your friends if they're interested in anything cool and new. That's what we're doing. And happy Harikuyo to you. I hope you go through and find your broken pins and buy some new pins for yourself today. But today would be a great day to go through your pins and find all the ones that need to be recycled. So thank you for joining us, and I will see all of you next Tuesday. Take care of yourselves. Have a great week. Bye-bye.